Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome back, folks. Hey, here we go again. Oregon Voters Digest, right in the midst of elections. Hey, presidential election will be coming up. That's going to be a heavyweight piece aspect of it. But we are going to focus this hour right up front with the city of Portland. New form of government and this, that, and the other. So that's going to be heavy. And John is here with me, as you note. He has a heck of a background. John, I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for supporting.
I appreciate the opportunity, and engaging with your viewers is really teaching me a lot about the city. And
man, this whole idea about a guest host. No, man, you need to run, John.
I'm thinking about it.
I know you're thinking about it.
Thinking about it.
My George, I'm looking at the list of folks who's running. I'm trying to figure out where's their resume.
Yeah, well, June 5th is technically the first day that anybody can get on the
exactly.
ballot.
See, a lot of folks don't know that.
Right.
See, a lot of folks, they jumped out of there, but no due respect, it don't start.
People have been running since September.
Exactly.
And it's been an interesting process to watch, because I do follow all these candidates either on social media, check their websites.
It's been awesome.
It's been interesting. Some people have run out of energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've been campaigning so long.
Yeah. And some people just waiting to see the list, right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a surprise come June 5th. As far as some of these other folks, we're going to say.
I've heard a lot of rumors about people getting into.
I'm not going to Salem anymore. I'm going to stick around in Portland, right? Got me?
Yeah. There's been some interesting chatter actually about Joanne Hardesty.
Oh, she's thinking about it?
I haven't spoken to her, but these are just rumors and speculation that I hear. But
she got enough. She's sitting up in the Bahamas now or something.
So when she ran last time I knew, when she ran last time, she was living out in District 1 east of 205. Mm-hmm. But what I've heard is she's moved back into this neighborhood. So she's living right around here.
Interesting.
In the Lloyd Center area.
Boy, well, you better. We got to do an interview. That's going to be.
So that eyes are up for getting into District 2.
She's going to be donating to charities or something.
I don't know that. I know right now she's very focused. It seems like she's focused on saving Portland street response.
Look at this guy. Look how professional he is. I'm trying to get my little piece in there. But that's why he's here, folks. Trust me. Yeah. He's right down on the lane. But I'm a tickler.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Good. It's okay.
It's good. It's a necessary part of democracy.
Very much so. Well, look, on the city race, the big time, the new form of government aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things that they were trying to point out was the fact that big business was too far engaged and involved and in control.
Yes.
And so the whole idea was to come up with a donor program to give folks who want to run for office to have enough money to compete against all these other candidates.
Right.
Okay. So now, when you look at the donors list, you've been talking about it, we've done some research on that piece, and we're looking at the donors list. Look like all city council members are basically up there. One of which has already pretty well gotten himself to pick up $1 million. And what if we run out of money? We're hurting that on the deficit piece, and then so we got a problem here. And didn't each one of those city council folks had an appointee for that donors list piece? They had to have had at least access to it, I'm sure.
Oh, to the one that rules over, makes the rules for the small donor program.
Actually, an appointee to the committee
that sets the rules.
Right. I'm sure
my thought is actually that it was the mayor.
Yeah,
mayor set up that committee.
Check that out. But still,
because the mayor was dealing with a shortfall, a budget shortfall.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they did, I think it was back in January or February, was to cut the allocation. So originally they were planning on allocating in the city council races $100,000, but now they've cut it down to $40,000.
Yeah, but let's say if the mayor, let me take your point. If the mayor was the only one that made appointees to the committee, I'm looking at these other folks with the kind of monies that they have raised. Then you start thinking about it. They're getting promotion and exposure every week.
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 times a day when they have those commission meetings. They're all Zoom, right? You got me?
Yeah, I think I think the voters are going to have to take a hard look at the status quo in general. and see where, we've been led.
Are you suggesting to status quo, like, now we need to discuss it now?
Well, I mean, it's like you got to remember in March 2020, the entire world was operating under emergency procedures. Everybody had zero business. Every downtown had zero business. Offices were empty, and our leadership was given emergency powers. Portland arguably has the worst recovery from COVID. And that's basically on our leadership that had all that power. So I think anybody that's been leading through this is going to have a really tough time articulating their mandate on why they're the people to solve these problems.
Right, and have the money.
Money,
from the business community.
Money helps.
Now
money
remember
helps.
that the whole idea was to focus on the fact that we wanted to get control back to the community.
Exactly.
That's the key, because they are the employers, if you will, of those elected officials.
Yeah, they represent the public.
That's exactly what they're supposed to do. And folks were concerned. I like the idea that they put this piece together, because now all of a sudden they're saying too big business. We're saying not basically get rid of them. In fact, they're part of the economic base, because they're paying some heavy taxes and whatever, even downtown in business and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we still have an unbalanced aspect of it. So realistically, I mean, the way you're looking at this thing now, with who has control and who's going to get the money, and why are they raising the money to basically get exposure? Well, the city council members are getting it all, and the mayor. Well, the mayor's not going to be running. So I think they should put together another quickie meeting and say, hey, you will not get any dollars. They're getting that much anyway.
Well, let's jump into this.
Real quick,
the next segment. Your first interview did just make it.
Yes, sounds great.
It sounds like it's an exciting race that you're going to be discussing, and it's one of the statewide races.
Yes.
So, Shannon,
top cop.
Come on in.
Come on in, Shannon. Come on in.
Hello
How you
there.
doing, darling?
How are
you doing?
you?
Come on in. Come on in.
see
Come on.
you.
Have a seat.
Hello.
Come on, have a seat.
All right.
I mean, boy, I tell you, nothing like having the top cop coming onto the table here real quick. Like,
so
folks,
much.
this is community stuff right now.
Yes.
And right up front, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you for
You
having
got
me.
quite a resume.
Thank you, sir.
You got quite a resume. And to run for it as top cop, we've got some major issues facing this state across the board.
Yes.
But we have a major issue here within the largest city, that in the state of Oregon. And when you start thinking about what is the major issue, it's the whole issue of homelessness. Well, we can talk about this later on.
Absolutely.
But I texted you some questions.
Okay.
And that I would like for you to share and focus on that initially.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll have this discussion.
I got to grab them out of my phone. Do you have them on your phone?
Oh, I got them on my phone right here.
Okay.
You can just have them right here.
Okay.
And just go right. Okay, good. I'd rather you control them
I'm
because
going to grab my glasses.
yeah, going on real quick, like yeah. So we're on.
this all
This
fits
is community. This is community television. See, you got me.
live.
No, oh yeah, this. No. We were going. But the fact of the matter is, it's being recorded. So,
Yeah,
so bring your purse with you. No problem.
be edited.
Oh no. This is it. This is community television. You have to have it. Come on in there.
I'm coming,
We
sir.
got.
I'm coming.
Come on here.
Okay.
Folks know you.
All right.
They know we're community television. Here,
Yes,
see? You got
yes,
me?
yes.
Okay, let me see. You can
Okay.
get. It's in, how did we go back on?
Okay.
Going back to the top there.
That's fine.
There you go. We get that.
okay.
I'm going to give her those texts. And let's just go right down the list.
Sure.
Go on.
So why am I running?
Yeah.
I am running to be Oregon's next Attorney General. First, I'm Shana Maxey Pomerantz.
Yes.
I currently serve as the Executive Director of Race Talk.
Race talk, big time here in the Portland area.
Yes, and so I've been on the show.
Yes, very much so.
A couple of times, and so talking about that work. And, what prompted me to run, I've been asked over the years to run for office by folks in community,
Right.
and I always ask, it's always flattering, but stepping into political office is a big deal,
Oh, yeah,
you
it is.
and so it's not something I take lightly at all. And, I've been approached about running for Attorney General. And at the time, last year, when it was suggested to me, I was in the process of a lawsuit against Boley. I had previously been a civil rights investigator at Boley. And folks in Oregon may have heard, there were
very much
two
so.
employees
Very
who
much so.
left and cited a racially hostile work environment. And it escalated quickly, unfortunately, despite multiple attempts on both of our parts to try to resolve the issue internally, and it what I got coming out of that, I was able to settle. Carol Johnson, who had been my director, received a jury verdict from it. It was very costly for the state, for taxpayers, and I came out of that experience thinking, we have a civil rights unit within the AG's office, and if the AG's role, in addition to top cop, is also advising and representing the state in litigation, at what point is the AG's office able to step in and offer advisement? And unfortunately, it only happens if they are invited in. And on top of that, there's some barriers there. Each state agency has to have, they have to pay for that service, which seems a little counterintuitive, but it's also how the DOJ funds its work. And so, but I kept asking the question, could there have been an opportunity for maybe the civil rights unit to step in? Now they only have one person really in the office, less than a team of 5, whereas most of the divisions in the AG's office have hundreds of attorneys. So looking at that and saying, where is there an opportunity to expand that role of that civil rights unit into a division and elevate the support? Because we know that keeping safe, fair workplace practices is important, but especially when it comes to the actual state office that's supposed to investigate those infractions, and it didn't happen in their own office, in their own department. That's really concerning. And so I saw an opportunity to step into this race. So that's one reason for why I'm running. The other reason is I'm also looking at the shift that's happening throughout our country. And, the work that I do with Race Talks would be considered under that DEI umbrella. And even as a former teacher, a classroom teacher, educator, teaching history in a lot of ways that it's being banned, I could see some real consequences if I was still in the classroom teaching. So I look at that and I say to myself, how can we protect what we've been working for so hard, not just throughout the country, but throughout our state? And so I didn't see anybody talking about it. And so I thought it was of utmost importance to be able to bring this to, the hearts and minds of all of Oregon. And so that's why I put my name out here.
Well, one of the most important things about this young lady here, is that she has a law degree. Let's talk a little bit about your background, your resume.
Yes, sir.
Talk about your resume.
Yes. So, yes, I'm a lawyer. And I went to Southern University Law Center, which is a historically Black university in Louisiana. They practice civil law, which is different from common law, although I will say the education is invaluable, in terms of understanding civil and common. I find the crossover, honestly, not to be that different in my mindset. You still have to look at statutes, you have to look at judicial decisions. So in any sense, I came out of that experience at the age of 40. Okay. I have been an educator. I always wanted to go into the practice of law. I come from a family of teachers, educators, multiple generations of it. And, so that's the family business is education. Get a good education and become an educator. And so I did that, but the law was always pulling me, and civil rights and advocacy for others, and, fighting for folks who don't have as much as those who do. And so, which I fall into that gap as well. I worked the whole time I was in school, I have school debt, so I'm not unique in that way. It's very expensive to go and pursue higher education.
Right.
So I came out of that, I sat for the bar, have not passed. Plan to pass it. Might pass it while I'm Attorney General.
Yes, I got you.
The requirement, and for full disclosure for folks who are saying, well, wait, you're a lawyer, but you're not an attorney. Yes, it's actually not a requirement of the job. It certainly helps, but as far as I think having that law school education, understanding the impacts of community and the decision making that goes into representing the state and going after people who break the law, I think it's very important. And also having a community-based mindset on what is that long-term consequence. You know, we talk about prosecuting people, suing people. And especially on the criminal side of things, because I've been an educator and because I've mostly worked as an educator and community public servant in communities of color, poor socioeconomic communities, working class, immigrant, poor white folks, rural, country, inner city, you name it, I've worked in
there.
it. And the desire for safe housing, food on the table, education, employment, healthcare, it's all the same. We all share that.
Yes,
we
right,
may all
exactly.
look and sound different,
Exactly, right.
but we all want that, and for our families, for ourselves, for our loved ones. And so, but when we start looking at criminal activity, we know that the impact of incarceration is generational. And so I think in terms of, we know that disproportionately it impacts Black and brown communities, poor white communities, more so than those communities that aren't. And so I think having a lens to that, that impact, what are the alternatives to incarceration that exist? There's a reason why people do drugs, and educating people about the harms and the consequences of illegal activity, So I see there's a real opportunity there to expand the role of the AG's office. I also find a lot of people don't know what the AG's office does.
Exactly.
And so being able to make a more consumer-friendly, accessible office to help educate the public. I think we know city council and commissions and the governor and legislature, a lot of folks have a lot of awareness around that, but I found since I stepped into this race, people are like, oh, I'm learning a lot.
Well, in all due respect, that's why I was sort of attracted to your particular race, because one of the major concerns we have in the state of Oregon just happened to be here, centrally located in Multnomah County in the city of Portland.
Okay.
And homeless is a very key piece.
Yeah.
And public safety is huge.
Yeah.
And in all due respect, people tend to get that definition of how we're resolving that problem to those two entities,
Right.
Multnomah County and the city of Portland aspect of it.
Right.
So the idea is that you would be sitting there as a person that deals with low-income folks and folks
Sure.
like that, and really not discarding them,
Yeah.
but putting them back into a productive matter aspect of
Absolutely.
it. So public safety is huge.
Absolutely.
And so, and again, like I said, I was very familiar with you. You've been on the show several times, and we've talked about your background, this, that, and the other. But Race Talk, for instance, is something that's been your mom there for a number of years.
Yeah.
But you were part of that.
Absolutely.
And now you're basically doing that now, and so you're at the table, if
Yeah.
you will, and discussing with the community.
Yes.
The community, as far as those issues are concerned,
Yeah.
and responding to the issues within this area, and then sharing it with the rest of the state.
Sure.
See, and that's really what attracted me about your campaign, because I looked at the folks who were running for office, and they didn't have that background.
Yeah.
They did not have that background.
Sure.
And in all due respect, I'm the old, especially this time around.
Yeah.
This is not about a personality contact. This is
No.
these are serious times right now.
There
And
are.
it's nonpartisan. And then
Yeah.
we've got to be at the table
Yeah.
to solve our problems.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
I want to
Hold on.
interject real quick and just say that the houselessness issue is statewide.
Right, right.
It is not. I think Portland gets the light shown because it's Portland. It's the biggest city. We protest, obviously. The amount of advocacy that goes into it gets more told, because I think more of the resources are here. But I think there's an opportunity because of my community-based approach
Oh, yeah.
to be able to help get out to the rest of the state
Right.
and make sure that we are looking at whomever has boots on the ground. We want to be able to bring those folks to the table in terms of problem solving. incarceration is a short-term fix. This is a long-term solution that has been applied consistently to a long-term problem. And so I think when we start looking at, how wraparound approaches, when we look at cities that have been the most effective around addressing crime and drugs, generally it's a wraparound approach, to the person. So if you break the law and you need to serve time, then what kind of rehabilitative effects are available to you? We know prison in and of itself is not rehabilitative,
Right.
And once people come out, recidivism is a huge problem, especially if there are not support services, getting a driver's license, getting access to employment, getting access to housing. What about your family members? How are they able to support you? Because they're just as impacted. What about your children? So because I have experience in working with the families and the children of people who have been incarcerated, I understand the long-term impact and the familial and community impact, because it's not just that person who experienced it, it's everybody who's attached to that person. And so I think when we step into a mindset like that, it's really time that we shift our mindset. And Oregon typically has been a leader, in environmentalism. We also have an intersectionality in terms of our tribal communities, how we listen to them and honor their practices. Are there opportunities there? Often they're ignored. So I think it's important to bring them to the table when we're talking about the environment and best practices. Also, because there's recommendations to state agencies, the governor and the legislature, the AG's office is able to make recommendations for good policy making. So I think that's really important.
Okay. Well, the other thing about that particular situation, again, talking about this piece, because I want to take advantage of this piece, because you just happen to be in this particular area.
Yeah.
If as soon as they get in here, no problem.
Okay.
And the community, we just keep talking.
Okay. We'll keep talking until they tell us
I'm
to
the
stop.
show here. I'm the show.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. But the bottom line is that this is so critical now, because we've got a DA's race, district attorney's race, for Multnomah County.
Yes.
Okay, which is inclusive of Portland, right?
Correct.
Which is an entity of District Number 2 of Multnomah County. And the bottom line is that they're having some problems with reference to policies. What was on the books, and how do we change the book, if you will, and whatever. And that's real. And in all due respect, that's why I think that being the top cop, some way, shape, or form, that particular entity, the Attorney General's office, need to put this faction together, but it talks to the entire state.
Yeah.
But the basis of it, the diocese, would be led, if you will, by the issues in this particular county, Multnomah County, in the city of Portland.
Correct.
You see, and so again, that's another reason why I was attracted to your race, because they're not really talking to the issues in the DA's race. The person who's sitting in that seat actually acquired those issues, policies that were already on the books.
Sure.
And the other entity that's running, the two entities that are running, you got the DA who's sitting in the seat, and you got the other individual who's been there 20 years. And I'm asking myself, where was he in the early days when they were putting those policies together?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be anti this. I'm saying it's so serious.
Yes.
And no one is discussing that from what I'm seeing.
Well, and again, I think it's important, for years to understand the AG's role, again, is to be an advisor, to the DAs throughout the state.
Oh, yes.
Law enforcement throughout the state. And so really my hope, if elected, when elected, is really taking a community-based approach to this. Because again, some of the policy issues you're speaking to, there are community-based organizations who are directly working on these issues. And so being able to bring these folks to the table, definitely looking to establish an advisory of community-based individuals, organizations from throughout the state to really look at what are these common threads, and how can we better reinforce the approach. So I know, again, Portland is where you live, it's where I live, but the AG represents the whole state.
Well, it's the whole state.
And again, a lot of the resources come into Portland, but I would say a lot of the organizations that are based in Portland serve statewide.
Yes.
And so again, making sure that we have a reach and best practices, where we need to come down with the fist of the law, we do it, but where there's the opportunity to look at alternatives, especially, when we're looking at individuals, just because we can see houseless people using drugs on the street, just because we sweep and remove them does not mean we've taken care of the drug issue at its roots. Common user is not responsible for the manufacturing, distribution, and also most users don't realize what is the real risk of what I'm doing here. So we have a multi-front approach that how are we educating the general public about the real concern around fentanyl? So I understand it, fentanyl, I've never used it. I don't even like to be prescribed oxycodone. I barely take aspirin, because again, there's harms, in terms of how we receive things in our system. And so you've got folks out here who are like, I want to try Molly, I want to try Coke. It's been cut with fentanyl. You're dead. We need to educate our children. Again, many stupid things I've done as a kid. Many stupid things the youth I worked with did, and you can have forever life-changing consequences when you don't really understand what the consequences of those actions are. And so again, I think there's some opportunities for educating, engaging with the community at the local levels, and seeing where the AG's office and the DOJ can be better at advising our state offices, and removing barriers where those opportunities for advisement that could be preventative for costly litigation, or lawsuits against the state that result in costly settlements, or jury verdicts. So again, trying to look at the good work that was done by Ellen Rosenblum, and seeing where we have opportunities to make some tweaks here and there and tighten up.
And another point I'd like to make in regard to thinking about race talk aspect of it.
Yes,
remember, it was Congressman Earl Blumenauer from our area, from this area, that basically initiated the whole issue of drugs. And it became a kind of a national kind of a piece, if you will. And I could see if with your educational background, might consider putting together this committee, because now he's not running anymore. Right. And he said
he's coming back.
He said he's going to come back in community.
He's going to be working hard here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so consequently, maybe we might be able to put a committee, and there's a former mayor I'm getting ready to interview, and
absolutely.
I want to make sure he's at the table now.
Well,
maybe get Earl to come back and get the table.
Benefit for intergenerational conversations. We have 18-year-olds who are voting. Even the under 18-year-old vote are still very influential to their parents, because the youth are really concerned about the times that we're living in, and they're deeply engaged. Social media makes it possible that they understand what's going on. They're seeing the issues,
and they are the issues, and they are the solution. They got to be a part of the process.
Absolutely. And so I definitely want to make sure that folks understand they need to be registered to vote to participate in the May 21st primary. This is a partisan race, which means that it's Democrat and Republican. So if you are opting out, or you are
a community race,
you are independent, or you are undeclared.
She's tough, folks. You see what I'm saying?
You need to go onto Secretary of State.
All right.
And you can change your voter registration. Oregon makes it very simple. You can even use Dr. Google and say, check my voter registration, Oregon, and you can change your party so you can vote in this race.
Well, they tell you what, look,
have a say.
This is not the second time. See, my point is that from the city standpoint, we actually start, if you will, to June 5th. I mean, that's when people can sign on, as John and I talked about in our introduction piece aspect of it. So we're going to maybe kind of call you back and kind of get a sense of what you feel about the possibility of, we're talking a little bit about the idea of putting this committee together and really educate the community about the significance and the importance of that office being the top cop.
Absolutely.
Are you going to wear the uniform? Are you going to wear a uniform? Because I've been trying to get the union president to wear a uniform.
I think this is the uniform for now. As long as I get big earrings and it, really? I'm wearing Adidas Superstar.
I'll help you out. No problem. We'll go out.
No endorsement to Adidas, by the way. And they haven't endorsed me, but this is, if you see me out, this is the uniform.
I know that, by the way. Hey, look, I want to thank you very much for being here with us.
Yes.
Good luck to you, and keep on going. And we'll be back. We'll be back in touch.
Thank you.
Okay. Sounds great.
Sir.
Take care, dear. All right, have a good one. All right. All right. Oh, we got to hurry up. I want you to just. Okay, good. Okay.
We can stand by the side. Hello. Good to meet you. in the flesh.
Yeah, let's
I
get going.
feel like I was sleeping in a little zoo box.
This is community television,
Okay.
folks. So here we are. Okay, good. Look at John. John is on the job. Thank you, John. All right. Come on now.
Have a great interview.
Thank you.
Will you send me a photo?
Yes. Ah,
Tell if you're
Mayor Adams.
Just call
I don't
me
have to.
Sam.
Mayor Adams. Mayor Adams. You see where I'm coming from? No, Aaron, look here. No, wait. Mayor Vera Katz Adams.
No,
You were part of that
just
group.
Sam.
You guys were part. Hey, you were part of putting that piece together. I mean, this is community television, folks. Got me? I mean, in all due respect, see, my viewers, in all the case, they don't look at politicians. They're not looking for politicians. They want to get down to the real source.
Sounds good.
You've got background. You've got background. You were at City Hall every day.
For a long time.
For a long time, if
Many
you will.
a number of
and if anybody's got some idea of where we should be going, I've got the guys sitting right here, and I'm pretty close to politics, for that matter.
Yes, you
and
are.
we're not looking for politicians. We're looking for folks who, because this is a nonpartisan kind of a deal. We're just looking for folks who are going to sit down to the table and get in and delve into business, and whether they're hard, this, that, and the other. The fact of the matter is, we got to solve this problem.
Yeah.
We're going to have to be at the table.
We got lots of problems.
And we got a diocese, and we got to have a diocese, and we got to have some chairperson sitting on that diocese. So you ask the questions and this, that, and the other. So but anyway, here's his former mayor, Mayor Sam Adams. He had the hat. That's how they introduce folks a lot of times that way.
You just call me Sam.
What? See that? See this guy? In fact, I was at the Nighthawk, excuse the French, Nighthawk restaurant, known as the Nighthawk Cafe or restaurant, whatever. And we were talking about this guy over there, and everybody there knew who you were. So Tina Coach, everybody would visit that particular area.
Yeah, that was,
And
that was a good restaurant.
That was the water hole, if you will.
That was a good water hole.
Well, anyway, Sam, just getting right back down to you're running for office now, so I wanted to spend some time for that. Again, we sent you some questions we wanted you to just share with that first. Let's get that out of the way. And then let's get down to talk about it. Why are you running, bud?
So I'm running because too often the decision making at the top of Multnomah County lacks focus, lacks urgency, lacks good partnershiping, and lacks accountability. And the issues that we're facing around homelessness, drug addiction, and untreated mental illness, and the issues around public safety, which are shared between, those are responsibilities, as you know, shared between cities, plural, City of Portland and the other cities, and Multnomah County. I'm running to take what I've learned in city government to help fix Multnomah County, and to get all the cities, Portland and all the cities within Multnomah County, working better with the county. That's the only way we're going to make real progress, as you know, on the issues of human wellness and homelessness, and on the issues of community safety.
It's interesting about it because, in all due respect, I have you here, and as I indicated to the top cop interview with Shayna, we're going to kind of like start you how you're going to be doing this thing between now, if you will, and the time that you're going to be elected as Speaker. We're going to do this now, so to speak. And I say that to say that I looked at the list of the folks who were running and looked at their resumes, if you will. Not to saying, hey, I enjoy people running for office. That's a very important piece. But we're in a critical time right now. We can't have exceptions. We got to get down to business. And your run is a good run, as far as your resume is concerned. And then another reason why is that I got very involved with the county. I've run for office there.
Yeah, you have.
I ran for District 2. I've even ran for the chair aspect of it
Yeah.
and whatever. And I saw some of the same issues and whatever. We didn't have the kind of leadership because it wasn't structured that way. It wasn't structured that way. And the chair was there, but the fact of it, there was no participation from the county folks, and that's where we are now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and I was really concerned about, and I'm throwing this stuff out to you on the table right off there. I can remember when I was being interviewed, I was kind of like, well, gee whiz, you hadn't won anything, this, that, and the other. And as they were interviewing us, in fact, this was at the Willamette Week, and they were just interviewing all of the folks who were running for office, if you will. You got my point?
Yeah.
And I wasn't given any opportunity to share.
Oh, interesting.
It was very interesting.
That's
see?
too bad.
But the fact of the matter is, but here we are sitting there, and I'm thinking about Peterson as I see her, she really still was an OJT. She didn't have access. A lot of the other commissioners. So, but bringing, in all due respect, bringing someone like you with that background you have, you're going to probably go back to some committee to change politics to a certain degree to make sure that those folks get involved.
Well, it's really interesting you would raise that particular issue. You're spot on. And what's happened over time with this chair and previous chairs is they've given themselves the power to decide what issues go on the Board of County Commissioners for discussion. And that those board meetings, I know it's nerdy, but those board meetings are where the oversight for county commissioners happen.
Yes.
So if an issue doesn't make it on the agenda, the group doesn't get to opine on the work of the executive, which is the chair.
Exactly.
The public doesn't get to testify.
Very much so.
And the news media doesn't get to cover it.
That's right.
And it's really undemocratic in the folks that and it's got to change, and it can change with 3 votes. It can change in other ways, but it's when I heard that elected county commissioners were not allowed to put agenda items on the board, I went and looked at it because I've been around a little while.
Oh yeah.
Went and looked at it and found that the administrative rule that a previous chair, like I said, the previous chair put in place and this chair definitely uses, it isn't just democratic. It's not legal. And so we'll overturn it.
And in all due respect, I've known Deborah. We know Deborah. The Kaforis have been in this business for a long time. So she had a little bit more background, so to speak. Got me? So she did kind of share it somewhat, but she was focusing more on the issues aspect of it. Some I agree with, some I didn't. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to have a change now with the situation that we're in now. With the new form of government, with the city, the largest city in the state of Oregon aspect of it, and the largest county for that matter. And others are looking for examples and solutions for their problems. Got me?
That's right.
And so it's going to be a very important piece. And so here we are. And any other thing you want to say before we get into these other discussions? We're already going. I don't want to run my mouth. You're the guy. You're the candidate.
No, let's your show.
Okay. Well, look, Mayor Adams.
Sam.
Okay. But in all due respect, let's talk a little bit about some of those issues that are vying issues that are sitting on the table. And because I remember when Mayor Wheeler basically said, "Well, look here, he's going to appoint you to do a job piece aspect of it," and then all of a sudden, because there was some folks that didn't like the idea from a personality, whatever, along that line, as opposed to staying on what you need to do from an employer, standpoint. I was saying, wait a minute, what's going on? But then, in all due respect, I respect the time that the Mayor Wheeler has been doing for today. But there's an OJT time, on the job training time. As far as I was concerned, I said he should have ran again, at least for the transition piece.
Right.
He should have ran just to maintain control. And in all due respect, all the commissioners should at least stipulated that they had to stay in the seat at least 6 months
for
the transitioning because of this whole new concept.
Right.
Right now, we got to try to figure out, and that's why you're sitting here. I really appreciate it. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why I'm looking closely at the campaigns and saying, okay, fine, and I've got until the June 5th to figure out what I want to do. I'm looking for folks who are going to be at the table doing something to solve our problem within the city and the point. Take advantage because it's a city and the county.
Yep.
You got my point? So it's great to have a person like with your background and your experience. And then the other thing that brought me up to mind was doing the Vera era aspect of it. She picked up this young guy, and she carried you along for how many years? How many years?
Including my time in Salem and on the campaign, we worked together for 14 years. 14 years. Yeah. You knew every aspect of it. Vera was a absolutely fantastic person. Very forthright, smart, worked hard, loved this place, knew what was at stake, and she was a good friend, a great mentor, and I feel very, very fortunate to have spent that time with her, and I miss her. I wish she were here.
I mean, when she and I, I was old gunner in the Marine Corps, so we didn't tie on, but she knew me, and I vice versa, and she appointed me to several of the committees, if you will,
Yeah, she
public
did.
safety and whatever, and I thought that was good aspect of it. But we're in some trying times now, and I'm lacking the bunch of folks that are running, and mine is just to observe. And we might have not agreed or disagreed. We agree and disagree, but the fact of the matter is, we got to forget that and just focus on getting to
That's right.
the City of Roses aspect of it. So let's talk about. In fact, let's talk a little bit about the time that you were with Wheeler when you were trying to do some things, and
Yeah.
you got to that particular point where he sort of excused. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, when I entered City Hall in February of 2021, we were still in the lockdown of the pandemic, and we were seeing big spike in crime, in property crimes. We were seeing, I think we were on, when I came in, 130 some days of destructive riots. We were seeing the spike of gun murders. Houseless camping was just, outdoor houseless camping was metastasizing. So we had a lot to do. The first task I was given with my team was, and I had a great team to work with,
Sure.
was to put an end to the riots. So we worked on that at the same time. We worked on all those issues, and I've never. I'm a hard worker, but I've never worked harder. I was really afraid for Portland. Good people in city government. Many though were worn out. Many were. They were demoralized. So there was a lot to do, and spent 2 years working really hard with a great group of people, and we made important progress. We started important direction, and I want to see that through. The issues of houselessness. I mean, when I came into City Hall, we had 800 self-sided homeless camps, always moving, spread across 146 square miles of the city. And there is no possible way we could ever hire enough staff to do outreach to that scattering of camps across the county. And at the same time, the waiting list for affordable housing was 5 to 10 years. And that time, on the street with experiencing outdoor houseless, 5-10 years is deadlier than it's ever been, with cheap drugs, with crime that's perpetrated on those that are houseless, very deadly. So we went to work and came up with a plan to, in November of 2022, the City Council approved, include calling for seeing the construction of 20,000 units of affordable housing and a strategy to get that done. It called for, instead of 800 self-sided camps across 146 square miles, is 6 larger camps that we could staff and we could connect services with. The first of those camps was in the southeast in the Clinton Triangle. Last week before last, was its 8th month anniversary for being open. The local Southeast Examiner newspaper called it a success, and 100 people transitioned from that camp, stabilized into permanent supportive housing. We also have, the policy was a phased-in camping ban, as these new opportunities for shelter outside and other shelter and housing inside are opened up. Then around that area, there's a ban on any other camping. And that's to prevent, to have 6 official camps, but still have, 300 to 400 unofficial camps that, again, we can't get services to. So that whole effort, while we endure this waiting list, while we build more housing, is to connect people with services. And I think the early signs are really promising. It's that kind of, we looked at the issue, we talked to all the stakeholders, both locally and experts nationally, internationally, to put this plan together. And it's the kind of approach I would take to the county.
Right. Love it, love it. And then I'm taking advantage of the fact that you've got this history, see, to educate the community. In all due respect, they need to be educated. They need to know that they're the boss, if you will.
They are the boss.
Because in all due respect,
I get my best ideas from the community.
The community is the boss. I mean, in fact, they are a community, and they are the employers, if you will, and they're looking for employees. The definition of the employees that we're looking for are folks elected to the office, those seats.
Mm-hmm.
They're employees.
That's right.
And the community, but the bottom line, in the past, and we've been around enough to know that, in all due respect, the masses of those entities that really have the needs for their solutions within their respective communities don't really feel that they are in charge.
Right.
And we need to bring that back to the table. And I like the crop that's running now because these folks are individuals in their own right. So it's a very important piece. And so now the other thing, public safety is huge. That's another huge. And let's talk a little bit about that to a certain degree, because you were there during that time. Bud Clark was there, and he did his the coffee deal break, whatever. You're fired. I like that piece.
Yeah, Milo's Cafe on Northeast Broadway.
You understand what I'm saying? And so talk a little bit about that. What do you think? Can you bring it up to date on that?
So, my position on public safety is we need more diversion programs for folks that have committed non-violent, low-level crimes that might be facing mental illness or drug addiction. We need more diversion programs. We also, though, need more jail beds. We need more DAs, and we need more public defenders. And the county's budget, I should say, is now 3.2, it's Friday, $3.2 billion.
Wow.
So I'm committed to go into the county's budget. I've done a lot of public budgeting in my life.
Yes.
And find resources to redirect money from existing programs to more DAs, to more public defenders, to more diversion programs, so that we can make our streets and our neighborhoods and our homes safer.
Well, just so happened, Portland Police, if you will, is within District 2. It's the largest district in the state of Oregon, for that matter, and that's really where all the action is in most cases. And then that's another area that a lot of times the community doesn't realize that.
Right.
In many cases, because there's several others that are in the same boat. So everybody's looking, if you will, at District Number 2. So to get someone and get folks who are very much involved and understand that and have if you will, the tenacity and then whatever, to be able to tell these people just exactly what the directions need to be.
Well, as you said, I also want another innovation that we put in place when I was back in City Hall for 2 years is community-led policing. So we put together a group of folks that included representation from Black African American community, Northeast.
I remember that.
Other communities of color, to oversee the creation of a new unit that would focus on reducing gun murders that are disproportionately occurring in communities of color. That group of citizens, they put together the plan, they put together the job description, they help recruit the officers, they interviewed the officers. The chief made the final selection and kept to their recommendations, and then meets every week with the leadership of that focused intervention team to go over what worked well in the past week and what didn't. So that kind of community-led safety, in addition to having more resources, those two have to go hand in hand. We have to make sure that this is done in an equitable, fair, and impartial manner. So the two are really important to me.
And then the mental illness piece. Talk a little bit about the downtown piece.
Well, right now, between Home Forward, which is one of the most important agencies for homelessness that nobody knows about, 100 employees, the county, and just the city of Portland, not including the other cities within the county. This year, those three entities have budgeted $650 million for homelessness, affordable housing, and behavioral health. But right now it's being spent in a patchwork basis, scattershot. There's a lack of accountability. The joint office has a fatal flaw because it isn't based on a budget outside of its own. I'm calling for rebudgeting and joint budgeting of that $650 million and to make sure that the places on the continuum to keep people from becoming houseless and the places on the continuum where people need treatment for drug addiction, substance abuse disorder, or mental illness, that they get as much of it as we can afford, because right now the $650 million is being done on a patchwork basis, which is inherently wasteful. There's no joint accountability for that $650 million. I want to go in with my colleagues on the board, find savings and find more resources for more substance abuse treatment and mental illness health care. $650 million 1 year. This is, except for affordable housing, which is a separate issue, that should be enough to make a big dent in this issue. Even with the problems as big as they are, it just takes knowing how to go at it and knowing how to, it's an emergency. The group of people that should be jointly working on these issues should be meeting a couple times a week.
Yes.
It's that bad.
It's that bad.
And so when I say the county lacks urgency and focus, and they're not a great partner and accountability, that is on no other issue is that truer than on the issues of homelessness, drug addiction, and mental illness. It's all done in these patchwork silos, and it's a waste of money, and it's a waste of lives and livelihood.
Yeah, and one of the things, let's say if that committee was done and all of a sudden there was an opportunity to share a thought or whatever, I'd been thinking through the years, because I was in housing at one point in time. I built complexes and whatever. But the bottom line is that there's a little thing there called sheltering. That sheltering has to handle. They need to understand that's not, quote, these folks owning their own homes. See what I'm saying? So the sheltering deal is a whole different ball game. The key is that we need some confined arena where a person that area could be vetted.
Right.
And when you think about it, in all due respect, I think about the penal institution. We just happen to have Mike Reese over there now, who was a super cop here.
He was my police chief,
Yeah. He was a super cop. Now he's the warden, if you will.
Yeah.
And when you think about that particular entity, when they go through that process and go down to his deal, I mean, those folks are there. They're there. They get being rehabilitated to get back into society.
Well, the more savings we can get out of this $650 million
please.
every year, we can put into these sort of missing elements of what is a more comprehensive plan. If we don't have good sort of in custody treatment and recovery, then folks get out and they're much more likely, as we all know, to end up right back in there.
Well, I want to go to another level, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the community knows, because they're looking. The idea is that the reason why I'm doing this with Sam, and he's running for office, but the fact of the matter, he was a mayor. He participated, he got involved, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea is to educate the community about that history, which is very important, and educate those candidates who are running for office, that are going to be running for the other seats.
Right.
Give them some ideas. It's not a matter of you giving your thought, because you've always been that kind of guy. Just, hey, here it is. You get my point? But the fact of the matter is, if they'll add that with their resume, and all of a sudden they can start focusing on the same deal and start putting that group together, so to speak. So when they do get on the county, it's not a big fight, if you will, from a media standpoint, or this, that, and the other. You can get down to business.
Yeah, I think you mentioned the candidates running for the city. I think that there's great high quality candidates running for the county as well.
Yes.
And it's going to be, as I've read in the paper, the analysis and sort of my own observations as well, it's going to be a sea change, and I think a positive one for the county. It needs reform. It needs significant reform.
Well, maybe just on a side note, maybe my input might be I'm thinking about Tom McCall. Remember that? His business about visit but don't stay. Maybe I can get the sign that's up there. Remember with the reindeer and whatever. I could put. So Bruce Broussard goes up there, with my gear on and stuff.
You're gonna say visit but don't stay.
Visit but don't stay, because I know they're gonna be doing.
Well, you be careful what you ask for, Mr. Broussard, because what was it? The last full tax year of a county, and $1 billion of taxpayers left the county.
Oh, I saw that.
And that, I've been around quite a while, and I've never seen that happen before. And
that's crazy.
You lose that tax base, and you obviously don't have the resources to pay for public services. So right now, the people's sense of their return on investment for what they pay versus what they get here in Multnomah County is upside down. So we gotta fix that.
Gotta work on that. Well, I'm helping out already. My grandson's looking at coming. He's going to be visiting me. He's going to stick around for about 4 months. He's got that nursing deal aspect of it, so he's rented himself a house, and he wants to check it out for about 4 months to see where he can move. He's got a family, the whole 9 yards.
Grandpa, you got to sell.
So if everybody does that piece, as another taxpayer, right?
There you go.
And he's going to. So the key is that we can get this done, but I want to put the sign out. I mean, I'm not trying. Hey, I'm saying fine. You can come here the whole 9 yards, but bring. We don't want that same crowd that we're going to be faced with, even in this summer. At this point in time, we got some issues. We got to get the word out. So hopefully, these candidates that are running for office now will talk that way, and that's the way I'm giving them more than a 3-minute kind of a piece, because I think anybody that's willing to sign has something to contribute.
Yeah.
And so they need to do that, but at the same time, but this history that you've been sharing with us has been awesome, and I'm sure that they can appreciate that too. And you're running quite a race there aspect of it. Like, as the Nighthawk group said, Bruce, I've been knowing this guy for a long time.
I started young, very young, 20 something.
And we're gonna take advantage of that. The same thing with myself. I barely made over 68 years old the other day. Just 68. Just 68.
68, good for you.
68. I reversed the numbers.
You don't look. I reversed 68.
Well, that's one thing that Marine Corps, for 10 years I ran for days. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
and that lovely wife of mine who basically makes sure that I eat vegetables every day.
You have a saint as a wife.
Any lasting comments? We got a couple more minutes.
No,
just on the front end. Okay.
I would just say that as your other guests have, in May 21st, when the ballots are due,
yes,
should be mailed. Ballots go out the 1st of May. And if you're interested in more in specific proposals that we've touched on here, and I really appreciate the opportunity, you can go to Multco.
There you go.
For Sam.com. Just Google Sam Adams, Multnomah County, and take a look at my website. If you have any questions or comments, my phone number is on the page. You heard a couple of people calling right now.
That's good. This is community television, folks.
Happy to talk to folks. I enjoy it very much, and thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Well, this is great. Well, I got about another minute or so.
There's more time?
Yeah, talk about your support. You got any? What are you going to be doing? Well, one of the things I want to share with you, since we talked about that piece, Sam, I'm very much involved in the Juneteenth piece.
Yeah.
Clara Peoples, she was an icon. She was
amazing.
She was awesome. But I can say this for fact, is that the first mayor that actually participated in Juneteenth was you. And I was driving.
I know. I was thrilled to participate. I'm surprised I was the first one.
Well, I got you for safety. You know that, don't you?
Is that right?
People are thinking about, well, somebody's going to be shooting. They say, oh, well, what the heck? I'm just a jarhead. But I want to thank you very much for doing that. That was great. And,
it's my pleasure.
And her daughters are now running the Juneteenth aspect of it. And probably participate again.
I absolutely.
And I'll invite some of the other candidates who are running for office to be a part of that deal, because the community has changed quite a bit. But the fact of the matter is we're a holistic approach. We want to identify with everybody. But Juneteenth is a fun deal. But I really want to thank you for doing that.
My pleasure.
That was Mayor. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sam.
County Commissioner Sam. Oh. No.
Just Sam.
Just Sam. Boy, that's a heck of a brand.
I'm a small town kid.
Sounds good.
I just like being called Sam.
Well, again, thanks again.
My pleasure.
It's really a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, and appreciate what you do with the show.
Folks, thanks very much. I'll see you next week. In fact, John's going to be on the way. He's got some candidates. Take care. Have a good one.